first topic of today is something that always gets brought up when we work on site together is how do you work together? You guys are brothers, you guys are best friends, and you're also business partners. And over the years, we've just been able to really find this balance that I think has made us unique in our ways. So as we get into today's episode, John, I want to first talk about us just being brothers and kind of the relationship that we've had growing up, living together. And
yeah, I mean, it's been a privilege being your brother, Vinny. Yeah, I mean, we've always kind of had, it's actually been one of those things. I feel like the business has really, really made us realize how strong of brothers we are, in my opinion. Growing up together, we were very similar people, but we had very different interests. For example, you were always the jock. You played football and wrestling and hockey. And for me, I was jumped more into the workforce, especially in high school, pizza places, marketing agencies, and then jumping into music and stuff. And so I feel, we have a 4-year difference in our age. And so, as we started getting older, you started hanging out with me and my friends a little bit. You started doing things that we do. And I think that started unifying us a little more as brothers.
Well, if I can jump in too, I remember there's always that age gap, right? Like you were 20 and I was 16, but then if you go younger and younger, like you were 16 and I was 12, right? It feels like a big difference. But as you get older, let's just say you were 22 and I was 18. So eventually you're like, oh, my younger brother's cool. And that's what I think. And I always surrounded myself with your friends. You had a great group of friends growing up and always enjoyed getting to know them. You guys are always doing fun stuff because you're a little older. You had cars, your license, and we'd be able to go out and travel. And I think for us, one thing that always stuck with me as brothers was that we always said, hey, I remember we wrote this on your guitar, where you go, I go. Yeah. Like no matter where life takes us, we've always talked about wanting to live close to each other, just be in each other's lives, and that's something I never took for granted is just being a brother because we are family people. We come from a very supportive, loving family. And it was something that we weren't willing to really jeopardize. And I think over the years, we kind of naturally, we moved into an apartment together outside of living at home. We ran studios together and we kind of evolved this brothership that's super strong, in my opinion, to that just nothing really gets in the way. There's a lot of small fights that kind of come up and things that we put out, but to really hold grudges, it just doesn't exist in being our oath to being brothers. And we've always just had each other's back. Mm-hmm. There's been times where we've, I kind of had my, I guess, what would you call it? Ways of, I don't want you to quit. Let me make my mistakes. Let me be young.
Stubborn ways.
Stubborn.
But you had to figure it out on your own,
Right. And I think there's times as, you being my older brother, I was like too cool to listen to you and, oh, you're my older brother. You don't know everything. And so that hurt me in ways and I've learned. And then there's a pivotal moment where I started thinking, I want to listen to you. I want to take what you're giving me and learn as an older brother. Because you would always say, and you say to this day, I got 4 years on you. I've been there. And when you're younger, it's hard to listen. I think over time, I've been, as a younger brother, able to really sit back and just listen. Like people that have older brothers, everyone has a different situation. But I've been blessed with an older brother that is also a mentor to me. And I don't take it for granted. When you say something now, it's normally for a reason. It's not, you're not guiding me in the wrong direction. So as a brother, that's always been something fun, just connecting on. And now as we're older, there's things I'm teaching you, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we've been able to play off each other. As we get into it though, I think what's unique is, so like part one is the JV brothers. People know us as the Pinto brothers, the JV guys, JV, right? So I think unifying our brothership kind of led to like, hey, let's get this business going. So with that, we became business partners. And I remember we had a meeting, was like, are you really ready to do this? Because it does get tricky with family and then you start making money and you're like, what is the balance? How do we really make this work so no one has resentment and pride issues and ego? So can you kind of talk us through the early stages of business partners and maybe today, like how the roles are within that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, I mean, I would say we started off on kind of, especially with the business, on the same field. You know, we went from brothers to hanging out, doing our thing, to then saying, hey, let's start a business. And then you start a business and it's like, okay, well, I can shoot, you can shoot. I can produce a project, you can produce a project. I can run audio, you can run audio. I can edit, you can edit. And it's talking, so what we really kind of dove into was playing to our strengths. And so, you know, for me, where I really felt really called to was the business end of producing end. And then obviously you were more into the creative end.
Yeah, and I think how that worked naturally was that we were doing small projects where it wasn't too complicated, right? And you were excited to edit, I was excited to edit, and like essentially we were, yeah, like you said, doing the same job. And I think there hit a moment of like we started kind of competing with each other.
Oh yeah.
And it caused conflict. I remember like it was kind of like now it really became like an ego. Like, well, I'm a better videographer, I'm a better editor. And we were I'll never forget, it was our first studio and we were butting heads. We working next to each other and I was over your shoulder like edit it this way. And you know, with editing, everyone knows out there you have your own styles and ways, and watching someone edit, which is never fun, you know, over your shoulder telling you how to do it. There was a lot of friction. But I think there was those moments that we had to go through to really be like, okay, I know you can do what I do and I can do what you do. What do you enjoy doing and what are you good at doing? And so we kind of made like a checks and balances of like, all right, who likes to do the business? And it'd be like you. Who wants to talk to the client? You. Who wants to lead the crew on set? Me. Who wants to lead the edits and the post side? Me. But before, you know, it was intense. You know, I think we definitely had our disagreements, but seeing where it took us has just perplexed just the way we do business. Anytime we get an inquiry now, there's just process. You know, if a client reaches out to JV Studios, rarely do I respond because it's John's role. And so as that agreement being on the same page, we have to kind of respect those roles. Now, if John needs me to hop in on a creative meeting where we have to talk to the client about the direction we want to go to, I'm happy to jump in. But if it's kind of an open briefing call, you know, they're maybe just looking to get an estimate, John kind of takes the lead on that. And I've just been grateful for that because I think it really allows us to be in our own, you know, energy of what we're good at and what, you know, what we enjoy doing.
Yeah. And I think those beginning, you know, stages in life, figuring it out, you know, I think competition and I think conflict inspires growth. And so if it was just like, oh yeah, this, and we're in this beautiful, happy-go-lucky world, you know, we had to struggle a little bit, you know, because I think that struggle strengthened our relationships. For us, for me to be confident, to put a boundary up saying, hey, this is my job and I'm going to do it. And then for you to say the same thing, you know, hey, Johnny, I remember many times, hey, Johnny, listen, you're not a videographer. And obviously I can shoot, but that's not where my strength is. I'm going to hire people that their specialty is shooting. A videographer, you know, in my mind is someone that's just focused and that's what they're doing. Now I could touch on it, but I'm not the best at it. What I'm the best at in my mind is coordinating and producing. And so, but without those moments of, and we go back to like the ego crush, you know, like I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. It's like, oh, great, you can do a bunch of things, but if you're not doing it to your fullest, then you're kind of just stealing from yourself.
No, I 100% agree. And I to this day, there's times where, you know, we do receive an inquiry and I get super excited and I want to respond. And, you know, I have to remind myself like, hey, though we run our own business, like, and that's another thing with running your own business is like, you're always on. You're on. Inquiry comes in, you get excited. I shoot Johnny a text. Hey, did you see that email? And he's like, Vince, I have it handled. Trust me. And I always do, but I just like, sometimes my excitement overpowers and I almost forget like, hey, John has policies and not even policies, procedures in place of how to start an open conversation with a new client, you know, and instead of just kind of jumping in with excitement and responding right away. Yeah. He has things he set up over the years. So, and I'm still kind of figuring that out, but I think we've been super disciplined. And I just think there's times where, you know, when you know you need to tag me in on a call or I need to tag you in on an edit, like, hey, John, I have a wall up this edit. Can you check out this project timeline and just like see if there's some gaps we could fill, right? And I think being able to throw it back and forth has been super awesome. And you know, it's just a blast. It's a blast to kind of take the brothers to the business partners.
Yeah. And having, for me, what comes out, it's a lot of, it's trust, you know, trust in business is huge. So for me and you obviously have a good relationship. You're my brother. I trust you with my life. I trust you with anything that's mine. And so when it comes to running the business, I trust that, you have the best intentions, and you trust that I have the best intentions, so that we can continue to grow our business based on our vision, which is a collective vision. And yeah, I think it's, you bounce back the edits to me sometimes when you need help. But then, we were in a meeting the other day where, I went through 3 briefing calls with the client trying to figure out, okay, what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? And then it came down to the vision. And so we had another meeting. I said, Vin, I need you on this one. And then you always bring your perspective to just opening their eyes of things that I don't specialize in, like the looks and the camera quality and types of, ways to approach it. And I think by, leaning on you for that, that's part of my process is, okay, I need Vince to come in and speak this language to the client, because now it's the time. We're ready for this,
Oh yeah.
Ready to take that step.
Yeah. And I think an advantage I've just thought of is like, producers have producer lingo and language, right? And then when you're on a call with a client that has 4 people, so you have a producer, you have a creative director, maybe you have an account manager, and then you have maybe just someone that just got hired that's sitting in on the call, right? Mm-hmm. So you're essentially pitching to 4 or 5 people, right? And so when you're talking to a producer, they're like on board with you. They get it. With that creative director is like, I don't know if I felt they're a good fit for this project because I didn't really hear a vision. And then I feel like I've came in as that, hey, I got your back, Johnny. And so you would speak that producer lingo, like, all right, days, logistics, locations. And I come in and say, all right, this is the camera package I think we should do. This is the style I want to film in. I think we could get really this look. Let's do something high key. We want to really pull out the brightness. And then you just see this expression in a creative director, like, yes, they're speaking my language. And so I think to do all that as one person, God bless. And I know there's people that can do that. But it's good to have someone to lean on in those situations where you're like, man, you got me out of that like very technical talk, and let's get into like the beauty and what really, I don't know, I think a lot of people get excited when you really, the production, you start getting into the nitty gritty of what cameras we're going to use, how are we going to film it, let's get some storyboards down. So
yeah, it's actualizing the plan, because you could talk, but then when you put it into action, ideas into action, that's one of our things. So it's like, I got the ideas, you got some action. And so I think that's, super important, just especially on the client end.
Yeah. Well, they want to feel a sense of security, and I know if we were to hire a company, a contracted company under JV, and we were looking for a line producer, and I was looking for a DP or a second B cam op, I'm going to vet them out on a creative end. And then you would kind of come in on their process. All right, I need you to get this signed. And if they can check your boxes and my boxes, we're going to hire them. Exactly. Because that means to us as, a company hiring contractors, they have their business side together and they have the creative together, One of those things I think even in the past, like just asking, asking someone for a COI, like that alone is a big key in just getting started when you start to have clients ask you for insurance. Because in those beginning days, you just showed up, we didn't have, COIs made for clients. They didn't really ask, but as you get those bigger clients, you would get that. So those ways have kind of helped us vet out, maybe someone who has both sides together. But I love the business partner talk. I love the brother talk. And I think the third segment to this episode I want to touch on is just us, sounds cliche, but we've always said, we're best friends. You're my best friend.
You were the best man in my wedding.
That's right. You'll be the best man at my wedding in September. So I'm really grateful that we kind of have this triple effect, right? We have brothers, we're business partners, and we're best friends. And I think the number one thing for us is sometimes you need to kind of throw away work and you need to kind of like put aside being brothers. But what's something that's kind of like really pulled you in on when you don't want to work and you just want to be friends, As crazy as that sounds, right?
Well, I think it's super important to have a balance in your relationships. It can't be all work. It can't be all play. It has to be a balance of it. So, obviously we're pretty strict within, we are our own bosses, between me and you help manage me, I help manage you, and we both manage the company. And so, if we don't have, number one, set schedules and set boundaries, for us, then we're just going to fall out of balance, and the business will see that. And and then our relationships will follow suit. And so I think it's just important to sometimes just when we're done with work, we put our phones down and we say, okay, you want to come over for a barbecue, come hang out, go in the hot tub, or let's get a little bonfire going, hang out with my little son Jackson, and our wives are there. And I think it's important to have that separation so that we could just be brothers or be best friends. So it's not just, we talk business all day. And so it gets to this point where, we come over and it's like, hey, it's after 6, I'm done. Let's just hang out. Like, let's talk about, the trees, or let's talk about our favorite movie, or let's talk about another idea or vision that we can, invest in or bring into life, or let's talk about how, some inspiration or what our women are going through, or, stuff like that. And so, I know for you too, that you have a really good work-life balance. And so I guess to toss it back on you, what is your perspective being brothers and kind of jumping outside of the studio?
Yeah, that's a great thing. I think when we first started, living in Chicago, and I think living in any big city, New York, LA, Nashville, Austin, it's just grind culture. You just work. I remember living in Chicago. We lived on the South Side in Bridgeport. We had our studio. All I did, I'd wake up, go to my computer, check some emails, get into edits, and if we didn't have an open project or we weren't filming something, I'd go crazy. I just felt like we were failing, and I was like, this isn't fun. Like, I have to keep working. So over the years, we've had our things where we bounce off of, but now we're in a spot where I think we truly, now that, you are married, I'm getting married, and you have a son, Jackson, he's amazing, and he's my godson. Just coming over and hanging out it's been so healthy, because it's given me the chance to kind of step away from us. There's times when we'll get an email after 6 and we're together, and I look at you and say, let's go run some numbers in the basement, and it's like, hey, it's family time. Yeah. And it's time to just hang out, let's be friends, get a fire going inside, hang out with the guy, with little Jackson. It's like you kind of, it's been good to just remove yourself. And it's like, it's not so much about JV right now when we're hanging out, and having our women in our life. They keep us strong. They really keep our head on straight to just stay focused on more than just work. And that was something that, it took me years. Until we got out of Chicago, and for those listening, next episode we'll shed a lot more light on that. But living in Chicago, for me personally, was just a work trap. I just felt guilty when I wasn't working, because I'm in this hustling, bustling city, and that's all is around you. It's just people on their phones, working. Everyone's in a rush to go nowhere. And then you kind of step back, right? And I took this big breath of fresh air, and I'm finally like, wow, I feel balanced. And I think the balance has really, really made our business get even more stronger, because we know when it's time to work and when it's time to not work. And I think you having a son has been a huge contribution to that. It's really
changed my life.
It's changed everyone, It's like the priorities have changed. And when you're not working,
you're playing.
It's fun.
Yeah. No, yeah, having a son and family and stuff, and having more of those responsibilities. We used to be 2 single guys in a studio, and that's all that filled our cups, was working. And it was a great time, like, don't get me wrong, we had a lot of fun, like, it was awesome. We were working, we were grinding, we were on gigs, but then as you get older, you just got to realize, and, you're saying found the balance. Well, me and you, we were at that networking event a little bit ago, and I brought up balance. And what the facilitator actually said was, it's not about finding balance. You'll never find balance, but what you can find is the counterbalance. So for me, that was really cool. And I think about, like, even yesterday, for example, it's a Monday. Mondays are always a little slow. I'm in the flow. I'm talking with clients. I'm zoned in. I have so much to do because we're running 2 businesses and managing all these new upcoming projects. And I kind of let myself go a little bit yesterday because I became overwhelmed in the work. And then I remembered that I have to hit pause, and so I'm working a lot right now. What can I do to bring myself into balance? What's the counterbalance? Spend time with family.
Right. And I think that's a great, wrap up to this episode, is really just to kind of summarize that the counterbalance is everything. Everyone's always finding the balance. Sometimes you want to find the counterbalance. If you're lacking in one area where you feel like you haven't got out and have fun, play. Set some time to play. Do what gets you ignite. Play to the season. If you like to swim, go swimming. If you want to ride your bike, if you want to play a sport, do that. And opposite, if you feel like you're playing too much, get back into your work. Or spend time with family.
One thing that I just remembered, I just want to touch back on was, it's the micro moments, right? That we're working, we're grinding, and we're brothers, but maybe we don't have enough time, or maybe we just need some one-on-one time because that's where the roots were. My favorite things are when we say, "Hey, what do you got going on today?" I don't know. I'm in a little rut. I'm a little overwhelmed on this. Great. Shut the computers. I'm picking you up. And then we go and we have a day, a brother day, a best friend day where we go for a hike. Or I remember me, you, and Brennan a couple years ago, I said, "Hey guys, put the stuff away. We're hopping on the train," and we went to the Garfield Park Conservatory. Right. Or, "Hey Vince, I'm picking you up and we're gonna go to the beach, or we're gonna do this, or hey, let's go grab some lunch or some dinner and let's just talk about like stuff outside of work." I think having that, with anyone in life, your business partner, your mom, your dad, a best friend, whatever, it's good to just have those spontaneous days where you just say, just put it all down and let's jump out of the box a little bit.
Yeah. And honestly, just in addition to that, I feel like some of the times when we do that intuitively, we're like, we need a brother day. Let's not work. We put our phones away. We sign back on our phones 5 hours later, and we see inquiries. It's almost like when you give yourself the time and flexibility to really do you and be in and not get so caught up in work. It's like the universe has a way of responding, and those moments are always like, that was meant to be. We were meant to have that fun day, and now let's get back to work.